Welcome. In this edition of Down to Earth, we would focus on some of the important ideas. One was the importance of water and shaping water for wildlife. The next is losing ice sheets and glaciers. Now, the first idea, the article talks about one of the persons, Shravan Patel, who is an environmentalist in the region of Jodhpur, and he visited the Tal Chhapar wildlife area in Churu. Now, this area is known for blackbugs, chinkara, desert fox, and migratory birds. So, this area was actually struggling with water supply. So, एक रुपया प्रतिदिन वन्य जीवों के नाम was the idea that he started with. That is 1 rupee a day for wildlife, and through which he created a tank body where the gentle slope was created, and this was strengthened with the reinforced with the bricks around, costing somewhere around 30,000, and this pond area was developed. Ultimately, this brought in drinkable water supply for the wildlife in the region. This led to increase in the number of the chinkaras in the region from 38 to 46, which was because of the safe availability of drinking water. So this was one of the initiatives which has been discussed. Now next we come on to another interesting topic, that is losing ice sheets and glaciers. So one of the studies which was published on 30th of May in Communications, Earth and Environment talked about the Antarctic ice sheet, which has the greatest potential to increase the sea level if it starts melting, and it is now on its tipping point. So this ice sheet has shown up the signs of hysteresis. This is a behavior that the meltdown process may not be irreversible even if the global warming is stopped. That is the point beyond the tripping point. And as a result, even a minor increase of 0.5 degrees Celsius in the ocean temperature can trigger the melting, which could lead to a rise in the sea level by 4 meters. And if this actually happens, this would be detrimental to most of the coastal cities. And if we look onto the global picture, the major settlements are around the coastal areas. So revealing that global glaciers are melting faster than ever before, and the rate is very, very widespread, has been very important to understand. So researchers have seen that if the current warming level continues, 24% of the glacier would only remain, and if the global average near surface temperature is somewhere between 1.2 to 1.9 above the pre-industrial levels, then they could have significant consequences on glacial losses, which is very, very evident, and the destruction of nearly 90% of the villages could be seen in the coastal areas. Now poultry export has been restricted. Now government including India, China, South Africa and members of European Union have talked about full ban on poultry imports from Brazil after the avian flu broke out in Brazil. Now Brazil is one of the major exporters of chicken meat, and once the situation has been in control, the country has even seen a decline of 10% in the chicken meat export. The major importing nations are Philippines and Saudi Arabia, which already have the stockpiles which are sufficient even without the poultry which is coming from Brazil. The situation is more severe in South Africa, where 70% of the meat imports come from the mechanically deboned meat, which is one of the vital components for low income families, and the school meal program from Brazil. Also, there has been the opposition to the trade agreements by the farmers of European Union. The farmers have gathered in the areas of Madrid in Spain to protest the low grain imports from Ukraine and other nations, and if that comes in, this would have a detrimental impact on the farming and the agricultural practices of EU. So EU just one day before the free trade agreement with the war affected Ukraine was about to expire, the quota system should be implemented, and that was one of the voices that was seen by the Spanish farmers. Also, there has been early arrival of monsoon in India, and this year it was in the May itself. So 2025 monsoon arrived early of schedule. IMD had officially declared the date as 1 June for Kerala, but it was then declared for 24th of May. Mizoram received the monsoon on the same day, which is 12 days earlier than the set duration. So typically it takes nearly 10 to 12 days from Kerala to Mumbai to travel for the monsoon, but this time it was in just 2 days that the monsoon traveled from Kerala to Mumbai, and there was a significant western disturbance which was recorded. So IMD recorded nearly 5 to 7 such disturbances in the month of May, which were more than 1 or 2 of usual. Cases of intense rainfall, thunderstorm and disrupting of usual hot and dry conditions have been seen. So if you look onto the map on the two sides, you would see a clear comparison of the week of the first week of May and the last week of May, and you can see that there has been a large deficit or a significant deficit hike which has been seen in the regions of western India. So Delhi again experienced the wettest May since 1901, and the regions of Marathwada, Rayalaseema have actually witnessed extensive rainfall. So again, this has been important. Latur district, which is known to be drought affected district, this month the rainfall was nearly 75% below average, but in May it was all of the sudden 2000% surplus. So this has brought not good effects but even devastating effects for the region. Mango farmers have faced fatal losses because of the early rainfall than forecasted. And then there are again surprises. For example, Latur, as we said, which was a place known for water trains, now witnessed all of the sudden 264 millimeters of rainfall on single day, which was 7 times the usual rainfall for the complete entire month. So those kind of anomalies in the weather phenomena have been seen. There have been isolated heavy rainfall in the areas of Marathwada. Northeast have experienced a dry pre-monsoon period, but Mizoram received 55% below normal rainfall in the pre-monsoon season, and then Tripura again received 40% below normal rainfall. There has been a rapid progression in the rainfall phenomena which has been seen, and the forecast models and alert systems are now designed for 24 hours period, meaning that extremely heavy rainfall could last only for a few hours, could be overlooked, right? So those kind of dynamics of sub-daily rainfall extremes and enhancing the predictions have not been studied in the past, and they now need to be studied into more details. So there are numerous possible causes. One is the possible factors that lead to western disturbances being created, extratropical systems getting more strong and bringing in substantial monsoon and moisture conditions. Then there are interactions with local phenomena and local factors, and elevated atmospheric moisture conditions have been seeing record high land and sea surface temperatures, which have led to the concept of what is called as bigger bucket effect, that is intensifying rainfall events, enabling showers to release unusually larger amount of water volumes than before. So this bigger bucket effect is very, very important for you to understand. And the atmosphere, scientists have noted that the water holding capacity of atmosphere increases by 7% for every 1 degree rise in the temperature. So even with 1 degree rise in the temperature, if the moisture content increases by 7%, then you can understand the amount of havoc that it would cause in the nearby areas, right? Also, there has been a northward shift of the ITCZ, which talks about the arrival of monsoon and the tropical cloud cover being created as one of the major phenomena, and then the pre-monsoon drought-like conditions which have amplified the speed and the intensity of the monsoon. This drought-like condition was seen specifically in the regions of northeastern India. The next is sponge parks to fix floods. Now in Chennai, introducing sponge parks was an idea to address the waterlogging issues and bring this as an effective solution. So the urban areas talked about managing water woes. So they tried about recharging the aquifers or the nearby water bodies, and this would even prevent the flash flooding and waterlogging. So this concept of sponge parks was created. However, permeable pavements, eco blocks, drainage and filters were created. The technology was pollution free and sustainable, is already in use in cities like Ahmedabad, and India is now gradually adapting it internationally. China started this back in 2000, and Sponge City projects has now spread to 30 different cities. We will cover a separate lecture on Sponge City. This is one of the very important topics for your UPSC geography optional mains answer writing. So Denmark, Germany also have similar waters to enhance stormwater management and green infrastructure. Now, what conditions matter? When we are talking about sponge parks, we need to include the areas of high construction and maintenance cost along with it. If there is poor planning, lack of scientific approach, these cannot be achieved. But yes, once these are achieved, this would actually help bring in the aquifer system. Clay, which is considered relatively impermeable, can block the storm water from seeping into grounds. However, sandy soil allows easy percolation. So sponge parks are designed to suit the local needs, and the geology needs to be well understood. This has been in work with T. Subramani, who is a professor at Department of Anna University in India, has been working on the stress needs to understand the stormwater management systems and conditions to create sponge parks, and this would be a very important breakthrough development to mitigate the flash flooding effects in the urban areas. The next is the complex path. Now, biofuel production has been an alternative, greener fuel alternative, which requires significant amount of environmental trade-offs, but Brazil has been one of the early adopters for sugarcane based ethanol. There are other nations who are relying on biofuels in one form or the other, but Oxfam report has talked about European Union's massive water footprint in rapeseed based biodiesel, which is equivalent to twice the volume of Dead Sea, and India has its own ethanol strategies where we use feedstock rice, sugarcane and spring maize, which are all highly water intensive. Now, when we are using these crops, this can worsen the depletion of groundwater. So the areas of Punjab, Haryana in India are already water stressed, and if we are imposing those kind of biofuels, that would have a significant impact on the groundwater potential. So trade-offs needs to be taken into carefully, because ethanol, which is produced from rice, sugarcane, maize, which are all highly water intensive, can strain the water, not only water security but also food security cases in India. Also, low monsoon rain and heat waves could actually restrict the amount of cultivation that could be done. Tracks are being planted along the railway tracks for creating biofuels from Jatropha. Then there is a patent system which we need to talk about. Now, the firms have been involved in reviving the extinct species on patent rights to earn massive profit. There have been large mammals which were roaming in the northern areas and parts of South America 5 lakh years ago. Some of them have been reintroduced. So then there are questions of reintroducing dinosaurs to public imagination from the fictional ideas of Jurassic Park. Now, these giant relatives of elephant, if they are brought to life again, this would be indeed a breakthrough research. It has attracted investment interest, but at the same time the patent rights for the same are into discussion. There is woolly mammoth, which has thrived nearly thousands of years ago, but the population has seen a drastic shrink at around 20,000 years. By 4,000 years they vanished completely and were found in the isolated areas of Siberia and Alaska. Then there was the Titan of Ice Age, which was a documentary that talks about the mammoths of that time, dire wolf, ground sloth, saber-tooth cats, which are being targeted for revival. So the idea of de-extinction has been brought, and this is by extracting the DNA from the ancient bones, preserving the specimens using crisp gene editing technologies to bring in DNA of the nearest close relative and then working onto it. So Colazel Biosciences, which is a Texas-based startup, has been working extensively. The trade names are Memos and Woolly Mouse, which have been created for these species for the woolly mammoth. And then we have covered one of the separate lectures before. We have talked about the implications of this and the possible breakthroughs in the previous lecture. The next is restoring the environmental flow. Now, Yamuna's environmental flow is one of the major things that has to be addressed, because Delhi is one of the major areas which depends on the complex hydrogeological system of Yamuna, and it relies on the longitudinal, lateral and vertical connectivity for its ecological health. So reviving Yamuna through the holistic restoration is important. Tackling pollution, which accounts for 85% of the pollution from domestic sewage along with industrial waste. Delhi has only 2% of the catchment area but contributes to 80% of the pollution. Dangerously low levels of dissolved oxygen have been seen, which is detrimental to the ocean life and the aquatic life. Nearly 800 million gallons of sewage is generated daily, of which only 600 million is treated, and rest is mixed with the water before being treated. So there is an extensive demand to manage the waste flow going into the water systems. Also, if we talk about the Delhi Jal Board, the raw water is sourced from 4 locations: 40% from Yamuna, 25% from Ganga, 22% from Bhakra Nagal, and 13% from underground resources. Water is treated at 9 different locations between the various capacity. Now, efficient water management and demand system needs to take place and must be addressed in terms of the rising global temperatures and should be taken into consideration. The next is the Banda Shahar stone handicraft industry, which was on the verge of extinction, is now revived. Now, Banda is one of the locations in Uttar Pradesh where you have the Shajar stone handicraft. Now, locals believe that full moon nights reflections get imprinted on the stone, and then this leads to natural looking patterns which resemble the trees and the rivers. Now, these patterns result from the iron and the magnesium deposits which have been found, and this finest quality of Shajar is found along the Ken River, and Banda remains the only district where this is being cut and polished. So Shajar stone handicrafts have been well preserved. The Mala community actually collects the raw stone during the monsoon season, and this community has a series of artisans who have been working for revealing the patterns after cutting. However, the community has seen a sharp decline. There is an idea of one district, one product which has been included, and later on this was given a GI tag in 2023. So these reflections which are imprinted on the stones under the full moon nights are some of the very unique things which are because of the specific quality of the stones that come through the water supply in the region. The next one is the departments are trying to create more awareness about this stone, the cutting and the polishing, to help villagers develop a sustainable livelihood, because this is one of the rare arts, and the price of the raw Shajar stone is somewhere based on the quality ranging from 1000 to 5000 per kilograms, but artisans may not receive the real price. So purchasing the raw material at inflated price would affect the finished goods, and therefore there are traders from Jaipur, Delhi, Mumbai who have dominated the Shajar market in Banda, Uttar Pradesh, and the estimated time during the monsoon season, which is 4 to 5 months, there are a collection of nearly 1 to 1.5 tons of raw material which is seen, and Shajar has got a great recognition in the recent past. Also, there are next topic which we focus on is the devolution index. Now, this has been in light with the Panchayati elections ensuring seats for women in the panchayats, SC/STs, reviving the state election commissions, the finance commissions. and ensuring that Constitution's 11th schedule empowers the panchayats on 29 different subjects, which includes water supply and sanitation as well. Under the 15th Finance Commission, the grants are to be properly allocated for the various fundings. However, Karnataka tops the list, followed by Kerala and Tamil Nadu for grants. The next is the functionary dimension, which is again talking about the availability of physical infrastructure. The remaining two dimensions, which is capability enhancement and transparency, do not have achieved a lot of focus. However, among this, Telangana ranks the list. So accountability is where we assess the panchayats are fair or not, transparent and effective. And in this, there are regular audits which are done. In the case of accountability, Karnataka leads the list which is being created. So based on the power sharing, we have the following national average and the state scores. We can see Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu lead the rest of the states. However, if we talk about the states from northeast and island groups, they are below the national average. The next is the environmental clearance. We have Vanshakti versus Union case, which talked about striking out two executive instruments that talked about retrospective environmental clearance for the projects, and these focus on bringing in better environmental risk assessments that could be seen, right? So that is where we talk about a fair and responsible approach. India is increasing the use of maize, rice and sugarcane for ethanol, as we already discussed. Annadata se Urja Data is one of the slogans that we are talking about, and there are certain districts like Shravasti in Uttar Pradesh where farmers are trying to shift from maize, from wheat to maize due to rising demand from ethanol industry. But again, we have to be very, very careful that this ethanol should not actually be detrimental to the groundwater and require a lot of groundwater. So government has talked about second generation ethanol from non-food sources, and Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana talks about the economic feasibilities for the same. So if we look onto the blending trends, we can see that there has been a significant rise in the supply of ethanol blended fuel that could be seen. If we focus on the policies for ethanol, starting 2003, where the ethanol blending program was launched, that talked about 5% blending in 9 states and 4 UTs, to 2025, where we have talked about nearly 3 tons of rice with FCI for ethanol. Increasing the total allocation to 5 million tons has been important. The next one is lost in the maize. Now here we are talking about the idea for food security. When we are moving towards energy security and we are diverting our resources for energy security, it should not be a case that our food security is compromised. A similar case study we recently did, where we talked about the case study of Philippines and Indonesia, which are some of the major suppliers of coconut oil. However, the cocoa methyl ester, which is one of the derivatives of coconut, is being used for biofuel production, and as a result, the coconut oil which is supplied to the ice cream industries in European Union and United States have significantly declined. So when we are talking about ethanol and feed stock, we must take into account that our human food stock or the food security is not compromised at the same time. So energy security should grow, but it should be in line with the food affordability and consumption in India. Now if we look onto maize as one of the feed stocks for ethanol, we can see the consumption, where it goes and how this goes into energy process. The next is understanding the India's GDP would overtake the Japan's GDP, and that was on response to one of the authors' call that has been done. Now GDP is used as the gross domestic product, and we are taking upon GDP has no impact on the life but has a financial situation which is being created, and therefore it's important to understand the impact impact on the grassroots level for the GDP. In the court, we have seen various cases regarding NGT for the Yamuna Nagar, for the Yamuna Action Plan. Then we have the cases of Chandola Lake in Ahmedabad, where illegal construction and demolition took place. Then there were news on the federal clean energy tax credits cancellations, which led to cancellation of the clean energy investments, and nearly 10,000 job opportunities in United States were affected. There were cases of spike in the Mpox cases in African nations which were witnessed, and also hydropower projects in the Democratic Republic of Congo were being checked into consideration. So those are some of the important things that we have discussed in this edition. In case you have any questions or queries, feel free to connect back on the number below. Of course, the handouts would be available on Examrace Current Affairs. Don't miss uncertain topics that we have discussed, for example, de-extinction, sponge parks. Those concepts have already been covered in extensive detail in separate videos on Examrace. So stay subscribed for more updates. Thanks for joining in. Have a great day.